Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. Thank you for stopping by. Political Reflections, Article 102 of Algeria's constitution allows the Constitutional Council to declare the presidency vacant if the incumbent is too ill to exercise his functions, then asks Parliament to declare him unfit. The leader of the upper house would then take over in a caretaker capacity for 45 days. The guillotining, it's bye-bye Bouteflika. Army Chief General Gaid Salah made this pronouncement. He said demands of the Algerian people on Bouteflika's departure are valid. I observe that the army chief does not look like a spring chicken either. I then jump back to Kapuscinski. The choice of that moment is the greatest riddle of history. If the crowd disperses, goes home, does not reassemble, we say the revolution is over. They didn't disperse, they didn't go home, kept on growing, and hence bye-bye Bouteflika under Article 102. This is a big development. Now, Venezuela, horror, fear, despair. Venezuela's oil capital shattered by tsunami of violent looting. El demonio, says Betty Mendez, by way of explanation for the wave of looting and unrest that convulsed Maracaibo earlier this month. Horror, fear, despair, said Maria Villalobos, a 35-year-old journalist, weeping as she relived 3 days of violence that many here call la locura, the madness. I was writing about Maduro, and I know Putin has stepped in. Let's see how effective that is, because this is the superpower's backyard. And I was characterizing Venezuela via Hunter S. Thompson, the edge. There is no honest way to explain it, because the only people who really know where it is are the ones who have gone over. Trump had a chance to gain greater leverage over China, but blew it, says the Financial Times. Trump and Xi likely to reach a deal ending their trade war, in which punitive tariffs and counter-tariffs have been imposed on about 2/3 of the country's bilateral goods trade. Lighthizer may be successful in forcing Xi's lead negotiator to make meaningful changes, or will Lighthizer's offense prove less formidable than Mr. Liu's defense? And I think that's turning out to be the case. And I asked last year in July, tariff wars, who blinks first? And I was using the comparison of a chickie run. James Dean, both race stolen cars toward the cliff. The first to eject out of his car is branded a chickie. The FT is telling us Trump's going to be first. My article over the weekend started with a quote from Salman Rushdie, "Imaginary homelands. Ours is the most cryptic of centuries. Its true nature, a dark secret." And that was what triggered it was a conversation with His Excellency Johann Borgstam, who said, "Ali Khan, everything started with the disappearance of MH370. Chi girl, this Brexit flowchart is getting out of control," she tweeted. And I wrote over the weekend, the whole Brexit scenario has become a needle which appears simply impossible to thread. I was talking about Theresa May's endless Groundhog Day, where she brought the same deal but for the change of an apostrophe. And then I referred to an exam question I had when I was 13 years old. Might is right, discuss. And that was referencing the Golan Heights. And finally, I finished off by saying, you know, from a geopolitical perspective, the big popping over the radar happened in Christchurch, New Zealand. And I've been particularly impressed with the Prime Minister's ability to assert narrative control. And I said, if you want to measure a soft power leapfrog, keep an eye on the Kiwis and this remarkably sophisticated epitome of 21st century girl power, Jacinda Ardern. And don't forget the egg boy. And I think this point she made has really been a powerful one. They are the publisher, not just the postman.